Hey you folks, Quill18 here, and welcome to an episode of Let's Play Kerbal Space Program. And the very first thing you might notice is that I'm currently using MechJeb to handle this ascent because we spend way too much time talking before we, well, get off the ground in most of these videos. So, I recently installed some visual mods to make things look a little purtier, and to take some cool screenshots, especially with the HUD off by hitting F2 like this, I needed a bit of an autopilot. And I figured, you know what, at this point, I've actually done a lot of gravity turn launches. So I think it is fair to say that we can just sort of automate this to make life a little bit easier going forward. Anyway, also, MechJeb, you actually need a lot of technology before you can unlock it and put the little MechJeb computer on there. So it sort of makes sense that at this point we figured out enough computer stuff to do this. In fact, most rockets that we have launched into space have had more or less total automatic computer control, honestly, for these launches. So it kind of makes sense to me that this is an okay thing to do. So we are on a rescue mission, and a couple of reasons for that. First of all, I have a few more goals that I want to accomplish. Oh, quick couple of updates since the last episode. I did land on the moon again with Jebediah. We got some extra science from that. That was good. We may have set, I don't know, some extra satellites in orbit or something of that nature. I'm not exactly sure everything that we did. But yes, we did indeed land on the moon one more time with Jebediah. Also, Bob Kerman is back from the dead. Hooray! Enough time has passed for that. So, the goals that I've got will resolve partially around getting some more science, which is good. And also, I would really like to go to Duna. I think after we accomplish a Duna landing and return, which is still going to be a few videos in the future, at that point I think I will be restarting my career and installing the whatchamacallit, the life support mod, TAC, the life support system and remote tech and all those things, just to get more realistic experience. And I think restarting the career at that point would make a fair deal of sense. I'm wondering if we don't quite have the kind of kick that we actually want to get into orbit here. I think this stage might be a little bit weak and a little bit heavy. That is entirely possible, actually. I should talk about the ship design, but yeah, we're going to pass our apoapsis here. I don't think that, even with our autopilot here, nope, this one here, ascent guidance, that we're quite cutting it. At this point, we can remove the limit on the angle of attack. I think that was part of the issue there. Certainly the limit of the angle of attack makes a lot of sense when we are in the low atmosphere, but at this point, not quite so much. Let's do that. That way it can a little bit more aggressively try to raise the apoapsis. So far from a fuel-efficient flight. And in fact, I had everything set here to be very, very conservative. I'm not using MechJeb to, like, get to orbit with a ridiculous amount of extra fuel more efficiently than I could have done it myself. I've got a very conservative ascent path profile here to prevent any risk of accidentally flipping over, for example. That was my ultimate goal here, which means not necessarily the most efficient thing altogether, but there we have it. Anyway, so we are going to, so we've got these various goals, right? And one of the things, especially with going to Lunar, things like that, I've found out is how this mobile processing lab works, which I didn't really get. It's been in my list for a little while now. I think it has been anyway. There's this thing called this mobile processing lab or something like that. It's a component you can put on a ship. I don't have it on this one. But basically, you can man it with scientists. And when you run an experiment, normally when you right-click on an experiment and check it, you've got an option of either keeping the data or transmitting the data. Well, this adds a third one, which allows you to send the data to the science module, where your scientists will work on it, study it on the spot, and apparently convert it into like 5 times as much science, which sounds pretty good. And with that in mind, I need more scientists, because apparently the way it works is the more scientists you have on the entirety of your vessel, even though the science lab itself can only hold 2 people, it uses all the scientists on your entire vessel to consider what how fast it processes the science, which is pretty cool. And of course, that all leads into the first sort of space base. In fact, we've got a mission, an orbital station around Kerbal. Now, I'm not sure how much that's going to get us, because I think we've got quite a bit of the science around Kerbal, so I'm not sure how much the mobile lab will give us. But that mission will be an excellent way for us to practice our mobile lab skills before we send it out to somewhere else, which might be Moon, might be Minimus, might even be Duna. But for that, I want some extra scientists. So I've actually hired a scientist here, Wengren, or Wergren, but he was the only person in the list at the time that was a scientist that I can hire. Now, I've also discovered that when you do the rescue missions, the contracts to rescue a Kerbal in space, they join your sort of crew, which I hadn't fully realized. So what I'm doing, I've got a rescue mission. I did one in orbit already, and that person ended up being an engineer, which I didn't really need. Although that having an engineer with at least one level of experience is going to be important with my Duna plans, because I'm thinking of repacking parachutes. But more on that, when we get around to doing the Duna thing. So I'm hoping anyway that a few more of these rescue pilots, in addition to giving me some science and fame and all that, will end up being some scientists, which will be good. Plus, this lets me practice my rendezvous skills, which I will need to build the space station. Look at that. Look at this mod. I'll include the list of updated mods in the comments down below, assuming I remember to do it properly. Okay, we're going to go to the moon. So, where's the moon right now? Moon is over there. Actually, I forgot. One of these is empty. This one here, Razel's shipwreck, is actually empty. I have to go and remove it from the tracking station, I think. This one here, Wilta, is still in space. But I figured I'd do the moon one first. And I'm bringing a capsule with 3 dudes in it. Or it's a 3-dude capsule, the Mark 1-2 capsule. I think right around here, maybe. I'll pretty much just warp to there, actually. Tell you what, let's warp to here. Pretty efficient. We're not even going to have to orbit one extra time. We got random science alert. Oh, probably we were over a shore for a second there and could have EVA'd. No, warp here a little bit more. What was I going to say? Poo. Oh, yes. The 3-person capsule, because with this ship, now while it required a lot more fuel to do this, in a single trip, I can bring a couple extra dudes with me. Bob, this is Zombie Bob, so he's got 0 experience right now. And my new hire, Kerman, both of them don't have any experience. And if I do a lunar orbit with them, so first of all, they're now in Kerbal orbit, which is pretty good. Oh god, that looks gorgeous, doesn't it? Doesn't it look amazing? Let me take some screenshots here. And get it aligned. Boom. Okay. And do the little time warp trick to stop rotation real quick. So by orbiting Kerbal, I think they get 2 XP, which is enough to get to level 1. If we orbit the moon, they'll get another 3 or something like that, which isn't quite enough to get to level 2. Although if I send them around Minmus, that'll be another few XP points there. Also, if we do a landing. But anyway, all that is to get them a little bit of experience points, and then the empty seat will be for the person we rescue. So it required quite a bit more fuel and expense to do a 3-man module instead of a 1-man, but I think ultimately it will pay off. Anyway, we've got to start doing this burn. Now, almost certainly we won't have enough fuel in this stage here to get us to the moon, which is over there. So we're going to try to encounter it right over there, but we are going to just run out of juice, and that's okay. The next stage actually is quite a low thrust, so we may have wanted to start this a little sooner. But I think we're going to be okay. Next stage has great efficiency, but very little thrust. There we go. So we do have to go back here to stage. Do that, and come back out. So because I'm using 2 scientists in the capsule, and they can't actually pilot, we do, of course, have a probe core on there, a Probodobodine, which can do the prograde and retrograde for me, which is really handy. Let's just throttle it up to about 1/3. Okay. If I switch to the moon at this point and focus view, so if I prograde a little bit more, it should bring down the orbit a bit more. Wow. Daftia is like right at the surface. Look at this, 1100. Oof. The question is, can I get that low with that degree of precision? I suppose I could bring down my engine's thrust limiter, which would allow me, because I'm just doing shift and X, it's like as small as I can get. I mean, we're not literally, well, we're going to want our periapsis to be wherever this ship's periapsis is. Can I set as a target and get that information? Yeah, okay, we're going to have to make some adjustments regardless. I'm going to call this good enough. There. Okay, well, that is risky because I'm going to be burning retrograde here, which might drop my periapsis a little bit. If I'm not dead on when I'm doing my retro burn, it will drop my periapsis because it'll be sort of setting it somewhere else. That's a little bit risky. What could possibly go wrong? So let's pre-plan our maneuver. Again, I probably won't use the maneuver itself because I won't be burning exactly on the maneuver and yada, yada, yada. Add a maneuver. Be burning retrograde. And you know, yeah, really, because ultimately I'm going to want a bit of an eccentric shape to meet this. I've been doing a little bit of practice on my rendezvous, and I know there are easier ways to do it. Let's, yeah, this is going to be okay. Let's do something like this. And again, I'm not going to follow the maneuver exactly. I'll get to that approximate place and then burn and watch my actual orbit and make the adjustment at that point. So we've got our solar panels auto-deployed here because of MechJeb, little squat little solar panels. Doesn't really need much. We're hardly doing anything. We could turn off the SAS, but it doesn't matter while we're warping one way or another. We will warp to the sphere of influence change. And if I click it again, we'll go even faster. Just because we're limited. When we're close to a planet, it limits our warp speed. So if you click it a second time, then it'll super fast forward. We've got alarm set there. Okay. And I don't want to go too fast across the sphere of influence. Actually, am I already in the moon? I think I am. Oh yeah, it did the actual crossing. It didn't stop beforehand or anything like that. Okay. So I guess we can just tell it to warp to maneuver. Oh, it doesn't... There, warp to next maneuver. I will preload the SAS because we are going to be burning retro. Now, technically, this retro is not exactly going to be the retro there, but it'll be pretty close. So, warp to next maneuver. It should stop me 3 minutes ahead of time, I believe. And the maneuver is actually slightly before my periapsis, which is really what I'm targeting. What the? Whoa, 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 whoa! What are you doing? Is it because I clicked past it? Oh, poo. Okay, it's fine. I mean, we can still get an orbit from here. It just won't be anywhere close to as efficient. Wow. Okay, I guess it's because I clicked past it. Okay, we are in orbit, and right now we will not crash into the moon. All right. So, their peri is there. Ideally, our periapsis would be there as well, but it doesn't really matter too much. We've got a tangential point. We're hoping to do our rendezvous here. So now, based on the length of this, we'll determine how long it takes me to get back around, which should allow me to arrange it. So if I burn a little retro, again, at the risk of dropping my peri a little bit, we should... There we go. See, watch those arrows going around? Let me bring this way down. Thrust limiter way, way down. If I do this, and now just one tap of shift, we'll get them closer and closer and closer and closer, and stop. Okay, a little bit overkill. But we're going to be about 5 kilometers away right there, which ain't bad. And actually, if I do, at our common periapsis, if I do a radial burn of some kind, this one, there we go. I should be able to line things up potentially even better. 4.3, 4 kilometers of separation. I mean, I can keep going and sort of line... Well, no, I can't really. I'm just trying to sight the things. They're pretty in line right over there. 4 kilometers seems to be about as good as we can get. Look at, like... I wonder if the other pod is tumbling or something like this. What is with this maneuver? Oh, maybe because we're... Turn off my SAS. I have no idea. In any case... I may not F with it. So in any case, we're going to be doing a huge loop around. We're going to be coming around over here. It'll take 4 hours. Seems fine. Seems totally fine. This rendezvous could have taken less time, but potentially more fuel if instead of when I approached the moon, if I hadn't come so close and gone a little further away, I could have made this a tighter orbit, looped less, and gotten there. But I think it would have used more fuel to set my orbit and stuff at that point. Okay, seems to have stabilized, which is good. I don't want to be in target mode. Well, I guess it doesn't matter, because I do have a maneuver planned. As we approach... What are we, 2 minutes away? I do still have my thrust limiter set pretty aggressively, so we should be okay here. Let me do the little thing. So the maneuver is basically showing me where the radial direction will be when I get there. You know what? I didn't check my inclination. 2.5. Wow, I forgot to make that adjustment. We're going to be okay because we're close, but we could have gotten a lot closer if I was on the same proper inclination. And... Alright. Go. Yeah, it's such a slow burn. And stop. And I'm not right on the thing, but we're okay. 4 kilometers away. Sounds pretty good to me. I'm going to keep my my stats pretty low. Target. So if I turn this on and switch it to prograde, it should... There's my target there. Let's say should roughly point towards it. Oh, I'm at surface mode. There we go. So I'm going to wait till I get within 4 kilometers. And then... Now, the problem is this is our speed relative to the target, but it doesn't give us... Yeah, my inclination sucks. Hang on. Stability assist. I want to burn towards my target here, which is that way. Like so. And I need to bring this up. Oh, shite. I lost my target. What? Am I too far? I've missed this encounter completely. Or... It cleared my target? What? Okay. Burn directly towards my target. Shit. It's pretty bad. Effectively, at this point, we're just bringing down our orbit, which is fine, I suppose. And yeah, we're moving away from the target. I should have done an adjustment burn sooner. Okay, we're basically in a circular orbit now. Whoa, dropping our periapsis quite a bit. Too much. Okay, and let me go to orbital mode. And I want to anti-normal. Make our orbit similar. Alright. I forgot to do this first, and this is what I should have done first. Can't believe I forgot to check my inclination. Okay. At this intersect point, 5.3, and we're basically going the right speed now. What's our distance at this point? 6 kilometers and closing. Okay, this has actually worked out very well. Target mode. Where's my target? It is over there. So let's burn this way, because right now my prograde is over there. I am on a crash landing course, which is not good. Okay. Yeah, never mind. We'll get on the next pass. Alright, we're no longer in a deadly orbit. And we're still encountering somewhere around here. We got some descending node stuff, but at least we're going to be close. Tell you what, let's just burn retrograde to my target. No, not yet. Is it closing is the problem? Yeah, it is closing to over here. It'll be 3.4, not necessarily close enough. not prograde. This is, yeah, this is very sloppy in terms of engine efficiency. Because basically I'm burning orbital retrograde here. Okay, if I need to go slower, if I need the Hulk to catch up, what I really want to do is basically burn orbital prograde. Yeah, because I'm in a lower orbit. Or actually, you know what I need to do? Is shift my orbit. Like this. Is this the right way? I hope it is. Nope. The other way. So that we can stay in sort of tangent a little bit longer. There we go. See that? Now we've basically got the exact same path to one another. Are we actually closing in on our target? Distance is growing, so no. But we're close. Alright, I'm going to burn directly to it. The difficulty here is that our target is so close. Okay, there we go. Distance is going down. We are once again on a crash thing. Awesome. The target is so close to the ground. Are we going to rendezvous before we crash? Yes, just barely. Okay, our direction vector is directly towards the ship, which is good. We are closing. When we get close, we'll burn retro, which will lock us into the same orbit that it's there. If we're not moving relative to it. I don't know how close we have to get. Okay, let's start. Oh shit. Should have done this a long time ago. And there we go. Okay. Now, we are back in a sensible orbit because we're in a very similar orbit to what we've got going on there. Let's kill this and do a little bit more. Okay, can I change? I can. This is a long way to go. Let's try it. Ah! Stop changing my inclination. Reverse, reverse, reverse. Reverse, reverse, reverse. Stop changing my direction! What the hell? Oh my god, that is incredibly frustrating. This is a long distance EVA. On the bright side, this capsule is not on a crash course. With the surface. It is very hard to be able to tell exactly where I am relative to it, just because of perspective and 2D-ness. Oh, I think I've done it. Oh, oh. Where's the door? There's the door. Zoom in. Oh my god. Now, did I use up all my fuel on a very inelegant recovery? Alright, I'm not on a crash land, which is good. I no longer need a target. That's the quickest way to like clear a target. Unset target, I guess that way. There must be a hotkey for it. Okay, now what we want to do is burn retrograde to the lunar orbit. See, I'm learning these things. So we're going to wait one whole pass. Or, no, burn, yeah, retrograde to the orbit, which in this case is prograde this way. And even though it looks like I'm leaving the orbit the wrong way, the escape will be somewhere over here, and this is effectively the kind of burn I want to deorbit Kerbal. Right? If I just keep going and going, this is exactly the right direction to bring down my periapsis in one smooth move to reentry over here. Okay, what I'm going to do is I'm going to execute this, and then once I leave the sphere of influence in the moon, I'm going to finish the burn. A little less efficient, although way more than that time that I was stranded without fuel. Alright, let's point roughly towards our maneuver node, and then fast forward until we get closer to where we're planning on being, which is going to be on this bottom part of the moon here. And then I'll have to remember to clean up this mess. So I'm wondering what kind of class. I don't know from here. There's science, southwest. Wait, oh, it went away. I don't know, I think, from here what class this rescued person is. What's their name? I can't see their old pod, so I don't know. Oh, it might have auto-cleaned it up. The one around Kerbal didn't auto-clean up. Maybe it was too close to other manned things. Okay. And whoa. And fine-tune to face this thing. And start the burn. Okay. And we will, and we should, properly escape. So I'll complete this burn as is, then once we properly leave the sphere of influence of the moon, I will make an adjustment at that point. We're still so far out, while we won't be at the apo, we're going to be so far out that we'll be making pretty dramatic changes to our periapsis, even though we're not at the actual optimal place. We got lots of fuel left. It should be more than sufficient, although I've certainly said that before. Getting better at these rendezvous. I do want to build a space station, and that's going to require multiple rendezvous. And we're still basically on target. Basically on target. Basically on maneuver target. At some point, it's going to sort of leave here, and that's when we'll stop, because we won't be able to keep the precision we're looking for. And there we go. So what we're going to do is leave the sphere of influence, at which point we will be completely locked on the retrograde of Kerbal, and that'll make it a lot easier. So we'll just fast forward to here. Hello, Werngren. And yeah, I don't know what you are. I don't think suit colors, I think, are all the same, except for my super people, right? The 4 originals are in the orange suit. Everyone else is in a white suit. We can probably time warp faster now. Yeah. And approaching the sphere of influence change. Now you'll notice my Kerbal to Duna timer there. That's when we get the absolute optimal window to go from Kerbal to Duna. It's a feature from Kerbal. It's not important to hit that. In fact, I won't be like trying to min-max that, but it serves as a reminder of, hey, I can't spend too much time doing these missions right now because I'll miss my optimal window to Duna. In which case, I suppose we could just wait a year and then get it the next time around, or go to Eve or something like that. We'll see how it goes. Okay. I'm going to go at times 10 as we switch. And it's got this little weird bit right over here that I never understand. And it's like a secondary part of the escape. Okay, there we go. Now we are properly descending. So now, go ahead, turn on the SAS, burn a retro, and we're just going to watch our periapsis over here. And I'm going to bring it down to about, I don't know, 30? Something like that. Bring up the throttle. You can see it dropping pretty fast. We should have... It does get harder and harder the closer it is there, but we should be fine. Okay, let me bring down the speed, or the acceleration change a bit. And just below 30. Boom. Worst case scenario, we don't deorbit on the first aero brake, but I think that's going to be okay. Now, I should, in this design, I have a heat shield underneath this pod, which is good. Some extra parachutes and everything. So what we're going to do is we are going to time warp. We should be coming by this way, shouldn't we? Yeah. I'm still on focus on the moon. There, focus on me. We're going to time warp to around here. I do not want to decouple from too far away because you do get a bit of a boost, a change in delta V when you decouple. And it can, from that far away, it can have a pretty dramatic effect on our orbit over here. Look at the Aurora Borealis. Very cool. Okay, 26,000 kilometers sounds pretty good. I see no reason why we couldn't decouple at this point. I want to face... I tend to... Actually, let me cancel that. What I'm going to do is stabilize when we're roughly pointing at the Earth. Like so. And this is where I'm going to stage. So it's going to knock it up into a higher orbit where it goes slower. I'll be knocked into a slightly lower orbit, which will be fine. I mean, hardly any difference, but it should ensure no collisions. Not that I've ever seen a collision happen, but I'm paranoid. Okay. We'll face retro for now turn off the SAS. Turn it on to stabilize. There you go. And we'll fast forward until we're about to hit the atmosphere. And once more, I'll lock us onto retrograde just to make sure our rear end is correctly facing in. And it is, actually. I don't have to make the adjustment. I don't want to re-enter with SAS turned on, because the shape of this should properly steer our rear end where it goes, and actually stability assist or locking to whatever would actually cause a problem. I suppose locking to retrograde would never strictly be bad, but pure stability lock would be terrible. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and physics warp just until we start to see some flame effects, which should happen in the 30s, I think, given my speed and angle. High 30s. Planet looks good. There we go. I don't want to be physics warping through the through this burn stage. So, oops, not that. I don't know why when I click on contracts or open it, it always lags the game, and I'm hoping it's not effing anything up. There we go. Lock that on. You can see the ablator over here as the heat goes up. The ablator from the heat shield will go away. It's woof. All right, that's a hell of a perspective change. With the small one-man rocket, it's light enough and decelerates fast enough that it never seems to hit its heat limit, and we may not need a heat shield. Even here, you can see the heat shield is barely burning away. Maybe they'll change the stats. Maybe they'll leave it easy. Maybe there's still a purpose to using deadly reentry here. I'm treating all this as relatively serious. Now it's eating away at that. So the question is, like, is the heat resistance of this high enough that it wouldn't actually explode even without a heat shield? I don't know. But we may as well use one. It adds a little bit of weight, but, you know, precaution. Maybe future patches change things. So that's going to burn in. But yes, we have rescued Worgen from around the moon. Have lots of parachutes. They are the correct parachute as well. I've got 3. I think this one would be sufficient, but I was like, you know what? I ain't playing. This is a heavier thing. Yes, it's a bigger parachute, but how much bigger is it? Let's just use extra parachutes to be sure. Plus, you know, if this were a real mission, you got to worry that maybe one of the parachutes would fail. In which case, you might not be going for a very soft landing, but theoretically, you would still have, you'd hopefully have enough braking that you wouldn't actually die, even with one parachute failed. Because I think Apollo, well, I don't know, parachutes in Apollo, did it use like 3 drogues plus 1 main? I suppose if that's true and the 1 main failed, that'd be bad. But I'm willing to bet if they lost one of the drogues, well, you might be off center, but it might work out. I have no idea. All right, heat effects are almost away. We'll wait for the Mach effects to go away so they don't tear the chutes. Actually, we'll probably just wait. Once the Mach effects are done, I'll probably physics warp, bring down to something like 3,000 meters above sea, and then I'll deploy the chutes. I think I can get away with it with like 1,000 feet left, but let's not risk too much. Still getting some Mach effects, and the last of them are basically gone, so I will go ahead and time warp. Well, physics warp, really. Don't want to physics warp if you got a big ship because it tends to shake itself apart, apparently. But with this thing, it should be pretty safe. And time warping with a big ship is fine because when you time warp, when you actually do the real time warp, all the physics are disabled. All right, that looks pretty good. Deploy the chutes. They're currently in sort of drogue mode until they hit 500 meters above the surface, not above sea level, luckily, because otherwise we'd have problems on mountains. In fact, I suspect they'll deploy... Oh, actually, this is the beach, so it's going to be pretty close to sea level. There we go. Looks like we're going to be about 300 meters above sea level. Our speed is... Looks like we're going to land with 7 meters per second speed. Just below. I wonder what the... I actually don't know what the re-entry limits, the collision limits are for the heat shield. So we'll just wait until we get closer. I'm doing a little bit of time warp, which is not messing up our parachute action, but I don't want to deal with the collision at anything above ×1. There we go. Yay! Hey, and we can do a crew report from the desert for 1.5 science. You imagine how hot it would be if the capsule didn't have the AC on. Okay! Recover vessel. So that is my second rescue mission, but the first one was just around Kerbal, which was fine. This is a rescue from the moon. Now that my scientists all should have first level experience, I don't think they're level 2. Oh yeah, and I've upgraded the mission control to have more missions, upgraded the launch pad to have more weight, and I haven't upgraded the astronaut complex, which just gives me more Kerbal space. But let's go ahead and take a look at our new recruits. So you can see we got Diffidia, Worgen. Right, Worgen is a hire. Diffidia is who we just rescued, who has the experience, because once she's in our capsule, still counts as having orbited the moon. So I think they need 8 points of XP to get to the next level, though. So not quite enough. She's a pilot. I really want more scientists. Can I hire another scientist? No. They're expensive to hire as well. I've got one more rescue mission currently. I'm hoping they're going to be another scientist. I do have 2, which means I can run those science modules, but I would like them to spare. And since I completed that mission, I might have some more. No. Nerve orbiting Kerbal, which might be really easy. Oh, that's the atomic rocket. Now, I have to activate it exactly in this window. So I would have to get to an orbit. Well, not necessarily an orbit, but most convenient. No, I have to be in orbit. So I have to be in orbit between 90 and 95 kilometers, and then and only then activate the atomic rocket, which I guess is fine. I might be able to use this for our rescue, although I think our target rescue right now is in a lower orbit. Does it tell me? Wilta? It doesn't tell me what her class is. It doesn't tell me where she's orbiting, although I could check from the tracking station. Oh, I have to remember to blow up the leftover ship here in orbit. Rizal, I already saved. It's Wilta that I still have to save. Like, I'm not wrong, right? Rizal, I have in my astronaut group. Yeah, so I've already saved her, so I don't know why her ship is still there, because it's completely unmanned. So I would have thought it'd go away. So Rizal's shipwrecked, terminate, killing all crew, but they should be gone. Turns out there'll have been 2 of them. No, I'm pretty sure I completed the quest. So Wilta's over here is at circular orbit 76, 79. So I would go higher up than I really intend to. Test the nerve. No, I can make that work. I will probably do that behind the scenes. I will try to rescue Wilta. And next episode, I'm going to start trying to assemble the space station, the one around Kerbal. We have a quest for it. It'll be a lot easier to do. We're going to figure out what it's like to lift very, very heavy payloads. That was part of the reason for this design, too. This design here, with which may or may not, like, I don't need anything quite this crazy. I could have, with asparagus staging, I could have probably ended up with a much more minimal design to lift this. But building these sort of longer rockets was a bit of a test for me to try to understand some of the physics involved, because the payload we're going to be carrying for the space station is going to be quite a bit heavier. So anyway, thank you for watching another episode of this, and between the scenes I will try to rescue Wilta, and then after that I think we're going to try Starbase, and then after that maybe Starbase around the moon, or we could go straight to Duna. I'm kind of tempted to do that. Practice around Kerbal, then go straight to Duna and build a starbase around there. Assuming we've got enough money, we've got about $1 million right now. We might have to complete some of our other missions, which include things like going back to the moon and planting another flag. Plus, there'd be some more science. We'll see. See you next time, folks. Bye-bye.